What's up, guys? Today we are talking about Buakaw's left switch kick. Why is he so effective with it? What are the tips that we can utilize to be a little bit more like him? Before I won my Pro 6 world titles, I would watch fighters like Buakaw meticulously break down why they were so good and why they were so effective at certain techniques, and then try and utilize those tips, those little technical assets that they had, which made them so much better than everybody else. So that's what we're doing today, guys. 7 tips to make your switch kick a little bit more like Buakaw's. Alright guys, if you do not love the sport as much as I do, you might be going, oh okay, one guy has a left round kick, the other guy has a left round kick, they're a little different, don't really notice too much change between them, but you would be wrong if you think that. When you watch Buakaw and you really break apart his technique, you break apart the technique of anybody who is exceptional at lead leg round kicks, they all do a number of things in common. But I chose to cover Buakaw because his is just so perfect, or as close to perfect as you can possibly be. So let's start off, guys, with tip number 1, and we are talking about what your head does when you kick. In particular, what Buakaw is doing, because many people throw their head back when they round kick, but Buakaw does not do that. When he does his switch kick, his head stays right above his foot. There's no fade back like this unless he's about to be punched. He'll make an adjustment. But when he's landing these power shots, he's switching and his head is staying directly above his foot. Now, this is going to do a couple things for you. Number 1, as I lean backwards, you can feel my weight draw away from the target. This leg draws away. So keeping my head very high is going to push this leg weight in a little bit more and increase the power. Number 2, if you've ever fallen or seen somebody fall when they throw a round kick on their own, it's because they throw this leg up, this leg comes out from under them, but their head is way back, so their body over tips. Now, there are many fighters who throw the kicks, lean back, and they don't fall, and they're great at it. But we're talking about Buakaw today, and one of the things you will note is his head is directly above the standing leg. If you want to kick like him, you want the same style kick as him, this is very important. Tip number 2, and we're still talking about the head. I actually learned this when I was at Port Pramuk and I was hitting the pads. They would tell me every time, no. Not good. This is not what we want. They would tell me I need to have my head slightly off to the side so that my head is not fighting the power or the torque of my body. When you think about it, it actually makes sense. My shoulders are doing this, but my head is doing this. Why not let everything rotate together? They weren't saying that you had to have your head snap way over here where you can hardly see your target. They're just saying eyes on, eyes on, eyes on. And now from there, I'm using my peripheral vision to keep looking, and then I can rechamber. When you watch Buakaw and you see him kicks, not every time, but very often, if he's kicking this direction, his head is slightly off on a side, kind of like a 45-degree angle, I would say. And many people may have not noted that about him, and it would be very difficult to note because it's such a small, little technical aspect. The only reason I noted it is because, like I said, when I was at Port Pramuk, they were having me kick like that. And while we're talking about the body turning, let's talk about what our shoulders are doing. Because a lot of people, when they round kick, they start with their chest facing this way, they come up, and their shoulders are still relatively square. And now your body weight is fighting your hips turning over. We want everything in line. So for Buakaw, as his hips turn, his shoulders turn, and like we just talked about, his head turns as well. Everything from here to here moves together. It's all in sync. Don't forget about your shoulders. I've seen many people, I've done many privates where people want a round kick. It's so hard for me to even do. They keep their chest square when they round kick. That's no good. It's going to be a very off-balancing, counterintuitive motion to throwing your hips in. Remember, everything works together. If you're trying to do a practice, you want to practice, okay, I'm going to turn my body. Just put your hands up to the side and just let everything turn together. Everything turn together. And then I just let my leg follow along on that turn. All right, guys, one more simple point before we get into the little nitty-gritty details of what make Buakaw's kick so good. 3 things I think that really dial in what makes it exceptional. And anybody out there who's already good at round kicks or have watched a lot of people round kick should note whichever leg you're kicking with, the arm that matches it swings down. Buakaw gets so much force in that arm when he swings it, and it's whoop, and his arm is way back there, full swing, maximum speed, and it's basically throwing my hip forward even faster. Don't forget about this arm. Don't let it be lazy. Don't kind of keep it right here unless you're worried about defense. There's nothing wrong with here, but you're going to get more power whipping it back and using the momentum of the arm to propel the hip forward more. And guys, before we move on to our last 3 tips, if you have not already, give the video a like, join the channel, get subscribed. Let's move on to tip number 5. So this next section, guys, is all about below the hips. We've covered a lot of above the hips, but now we're looking below. When we look at Buakaw's switch kick, all right, guys, there we go. I had to do an adjustment so you guys could see my feet. No point in me doing a video about Buakaw's switch kick if I can't show you from the knees down. So we got a little bit better angle here. I just had to make some adjustments. All right, guys, Buakaw's switch kick. The speed at which he gets his feet shifting is just exceptional, but I want to point out a detail. Many people, when they do their switch, they're standing here, even if they're really fast, boom, and they get to this position, there's a dramatic change in the feet. The back leg went completely forward and the front leg went completely back, and it's almost like I switch positions. This foot comes to here and the other one jumps in front. When you watch Buakaw do his switch, his back leg does very, very little. It's not jump, jump. It's more front foot moves and the back foot just does this. That's pretty much it. So instead of me going really fast doing a full switch like that, look at the time, it's just this. And the speed at which I can get that kick up, it doesn't look like it's much, but that fraction of a second, it means the difference sometimes between the guy getting 2 arms on the kick and only being able to block with 1 arm. So guys, work. When you have this leg back here, don't think, okay, this foot has to come 18 inches in front. All I have to do is get this one back and pop it off. Standing there, pop. All right, guys, next we're going to talk about Buakaw's pivot off the back leg. When he throws the round kick, he switches and he comes up. He's not just going 90 degrees. Definitely not 45, but not 90. He's going more like, I would say, probably 150 degrees. He's not getting that full 180 degree rotation where he comes from toes pointing this way to toes pointing completely behind, but he is definitely going past the 90 mark. And the pivot is going to allow you to turn your hips and then ultimately turn your shoulders, your whole upper body, which we already talked about. Being able to execute that pivot beyond 90 degrees is going to make all the difference in your power and your ability to protect your knee and make sure you're not damaging it time and time again every time you kick, but under pivot. And finally, guys, we're talking about Buakaw's exit from the kick. He is so exceptional because it's so hard to counter him. Why is that? Well, it's actually very simple when you watch him. If I'm facing towards Bob here, I'm in my stance, I use everything else we already talked about. I kick, I come to here, and then I drop in front, I fall within range. What Buakaw does is his kicking leg, once he's done kicking, it will land parallel, if not slightly back, on the standing leg. So he throws his kick, boom, and then he steps back and he's out of range. And most of the time from there, he'll just readjust his stance, or maybe he'll even throw another kick. If he did a switch kick and he steps back and he sees no movement, then there's a second one coming. But try to be ultra aware of where this leg is landing when you finish your kick. It doesn't need to be right back here. That's what most people do. Right back there. He comes one and then slightly back, and then readjust in whatever way he needs to. If you've watched Buakaw and haven't noticed this, this is very important to his overall switch kick game. And I hope it's something you guys can add in to make yourself a little bit more effective and a little bit more difficult to counter off that kick. What I would be looking to do if somebody threw a left kick on me, I'd be looking for the block and the counter cross. But with his, because he gets so much power, you take the shot, you shift slightly out of range, and then you go to hit him, and where he was before, he's no longer there. He's back a couple more inches because he took that minor adjustment from here back to there. Like what my body does. Just enough of an adjustment to be out of range. Anyway, guys, there are my 7 tips on how to switch kick a little bit more like Buakaw, how to dial in that technique and become more effective with it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. If you have not already, join the channel and get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another video.